Hello, my name is Lavian and welcome back to another video. So, before I get into the topic of this video, I first of all want to explain why I haven't been posting recently and why this video was kind of late, because I had originally planned for this video to come out last week. So, the reason why this is so late is because we just got hit with another hurricane because I live in Florida and I haven't really had the time or I've been able to finish recording this and editing and all that stuff. So that's why this is late, and the fact that there was two back-to-back hurricanes, I just couldn't do it. So just wanted to explain that first of all and apologize for that. Hopefully I get to have a more consistent schedule maybe, but no promises. I'm planning, hoping for a video once a month at the very least. So anyways, on to what this video is about. I will be talking about some common problems that I see commissioned artists have and even myself have sometimes, and why some tips and advice on how to fix these problems, I guess, or what you should do if you're having these problems. But before going into that, I want to talk a bit about my commission experience and about the speed paint in the back. So first of all, I've been doing commissions for about almost 4 years now, since 2021. And since starting, I've done around 130 commissions, which compared to full-time commission artists and those who have more experience than me, it's not a lot. But I do commissions every now and then, on and off. I'm not a full-time commission artist. It's more of a thing I do on the side. And for that, I think it's a lot of commissions. And I started off with no experience, no knowledge in how to do commissions, and was very confused on how to do everything. And these problems that I'll be talking about were very, I guess, common for a lot of beginner commissioners like myself. And yeah, I've definitely grown and improved since then, and hopefully I'm able to talk about this. But yeah, a bit about the speed paint in the back. It's just a couple of commissions that I was working on. One of them I did able to finish before the hurricane, and the end result for that commission is at the end of the video. But for the other one, I was not able to finish it and am still working on that one at the moment. So I just thought, showing a recording of commissions I've done or was working on was pretty fitting for the topic of this video. So now going into some problems that I've noticed with commission artists that they have. Problems in total that I'm just going to be talking about. And the first one is not communicating with your clients. This is a very big and very common issue amongst artists, and even myself sometimes. And it's definitely not the worst problem, but it can turn into a pretty big problem if you keep not communicating with your clients. I don't know if I really need to explain as to what this problem means. It's just you not, as an artist, not communicating with your customer throughout the process. So the customer, pays for the commission, and then they just don't hear anything at all until maybe you give them the product or until they ask a question. And I know there's like skeb style commissions, which is there's no communication throughout the entire thing. But for other types of commissions, I think it's very important to communicate with your client, especially if something is going on that might delay the commission, or if you have a question or something like that. It's very important to talk with your client to work things out and make sure they know what's going on, because they are paying for your art, and so they do have a right to know what's going on, to know what's happening with their product or art. I say product, but art is the same thing. And And when you communicate with your client, it doesn't have to only be giving them an art update or like progress, like screenshots or whatever. It can just be letting them know that you are working on it. You'll send them an update soon, or something's come up that will delay the commission, something like that. Even if you don't have a progress shot for them to see, just talking with them to let them know how things are going is important. I think it's also important to communicate with your client first and not always having them having to ask for updates or whatever. It's very one-sided, and I think if it is one-sided, it's not very professional on the artist end. In my opinion, I don't think it's too big of a deal as long as you're responding to the client when they ask, but it's good to reach out first every now and then. So the second problem that I've noticed with commission artists and just artists in general, especially on Twitter, is not following the client's request or drawing the character correctly. And a common problem that I've seen lately is whitewashing. And this is, if you know what that means, is when the artist draws a character who's a person of color with darker skin, and they draw them with a lighter skin tone. And I don't really know what else to say other than the fact that don't do that. That's bad. And especially even worse if the artist just refuses to fix that mistake. Oftentimes when clients are coming to an artist commissioning art of their character, that character holds a very personal connection with the client, because why else would they be spending money on this? And to not only mess up the features of that character, but to refuse to fix it, that's heartbreaking for those clients. Like, I like to commission artists a lot for art of my OC Neil, who is Vietnamese, Southeast Asian like me, and I haven't had any bad experiences with any artists so far. I don't think. But if an artist I commission just messed up their ethnic features and just refused to fix them after, I would not like that. That would be terrible. That would be an awful experience to have, because this oh god, how do I word this? But like, your character is still representing a person, like if the character is a black person, you're just disrespecting black people. Like, it's just so rude and disrespectful just to refuse to fix your mistake. Like, I understand when artists just don't have the experience or knowledge when it comes to drawing people of color, but acknowledging that you made that mistake and just refuse to fix it is very harmful. Yeah, so if you don't have a lot of experience drawing people of color or just non-traditional, I guess, characters, then I would really recommend practicing, like getting more experience before taking on commissions with those type of characters. And if you do want to take commissions to help you practice, just be open-minded and upfront whenever you make mistakes, and be willing to fix those mistakes and willing to learn. And that's really all I have to say about that. Going on to my next point, another common problem that I see commission artists have, and this especially with bigger artists, is taking on too many commissions or just more commissions that they can handle. And I mean like lots and lots of commissions. Like, their queue goes on for like months. And a lot of the times when clients commission these artists, they end up, getting radio silence for months or years even, and don't get their art until a long time. I know that usually when artists do take on a lot of commissions at once, is usually because they have to. They're in like a situation in which they need to get that money up front. But even then, when you're taking on that many commissions, you do have to consider what the client is going through and what you're putting yourself through. Having that, like for me, having that many commissions, like even just like 5 commissions for me, is a lot for me to handle. and it stresses me out when I have a huge long queue. And I know it's different for each artist, but you do have to consider that pressure you're putting on yourself when you're taking on that many commissions, and how that makes the client feel being in such a long queue and not getting updates and not getting any communication or having their commission started anytime soon. That can be stressful on both parties. And I think it's very important to consider that when you start taking on more commissions. And I think to avoid like this problem, it's very important to understand and know what your limits are and how much you can handle. If you're unsure of it, I would usually just start small, and if you're doing okay, you can like slowly build up your queue. And if it gets to a point where it's just too much to handle, I recommend, if for the ones that you don't think you can do, just refund the clients, or just let them know if they're willing to wait or if they want a refund, like give them a choice. And that's just my take on it. However you want to go about learning your limits and handling when you have too many commissions, that's up to you. It depends on the artist, how much they can handle and what they're able to do. That's my advice if it becomes too much. Moving on to my next point, which kind of goes on with my last point, is artists who don't allow refunds at all. So usually when an artist doesn't allow a refund, is to protect themselves, to make sure that they don't get scammed or don't get their time wasted. Like I myself don't allow refunds. There are certain situations in which refunds are required or should be offered, or where a client is entitled to a refund. And there's one instance between a client and an artist that I saw somewhere on Twitter, I think. The client and artist, they were working together. The client had already paid for the commission, and they were discussing the details and the process of the commission. At one point, I think they kind of got into a disagreement of some sort, or just their views or goals didn't align, and there was some tension between them, and the artist decided they don't want to continue working with the client and just want to cancel the commission, which is fair if the experience that you're having with the client is bad. But the thing is that the artist also refused to refund the client. It's fine to cancel a commission with the client, but if you're not going to be delivering a final product, a final piece to the client, and you're also not going to be refunding them, you're practically scamming them. No matter how badly they treated you, they are still entitled to a refund if they're not going to get anything in return. And even if you've already started the commission, they still do deserve a partial refund because they're not getting like a final piece. So just keep in mind, there are certain circumstances where you do need to offer a refund. For me, I offer a refund or allow a refund to be requested if I haven't communicated or haven't updated in a long time, or I'm just not able to finish commission, can't continue it, or just feel like I can't do it. That's when I offer a refund. I know usually when you don't allow a refund is to protect yourself, but you do have to have some instances or some situations where you do allow refunds to protect the client. The terms of service is for both you and the client, to protect both of you on both parties. So don't put in your terms of service that you don't do refunds no matter what, like at all, because you can't do that. That's just not okay. So my very last point, the very last problem that I see with some commission artists is when they don't have a reasonable turnaround time. So what is considered reasonable really depends on the artist. My turnaround time is usually like a month or so, and that can be considered long to some artists and considered short to others. So this is a very, very subjective point that I'm making. So don't take my word for things. A lot of this is my own opinion. And so I think even though like a reasonable turnaround time is pretty subjective. There is a certain point in which too long is just too long, and that also depends on the type of art that the artist makes. I think if an artist who makes, I guess, my type of art, like simple anime style, very minimal shading or minimal details, I think if the turnaround time for that is way like over a year or so, then I think that's probably pushing it as too long and unreasonable. And there are some artists who have, with art like that, who have wait lists that are over a year, and then the actual queue that is over a year. So like some clients are waiting over like 2 years to get an art. And again, this is all my opinion, all very subjective. I just think that's crazy, and I don't think I could do that as an artist and as a commissioner. There are a lot of things that I know there's a lot of factors that go into why someone's turnaround time is so long, such as health reasons or financial reasons or anything like that. But I think if, as an artist, if your turnaround time is just getting too long, there is a point in which you just have to cancel commissions and do refunds. I think a lot of payment platforms or payment methods only allow up to 6 months for them to file a chargeback or a refund. So I think that's important to keep in mind too. Like, you can have a turnaround time of a year, but if it reaches a 6 month point and the client thinks they can't wait any longer, then I feel like they should be entitled to a refund. But that's me. It's my opinion. So I think before getting into commissions, like, figure out how long it takes for you to complete a piece, or maybe just do like a few commissions and figure out your turnaround time for that. And if you feel like it's too long, then maybe take less commissions. And if it's still too long, then maybe reconsider doing commissions, or you reconsider your commission progress. I don't know. A lot of this you have to experiment a bit to figure out your turnaround time and your limits and all of that. So those were all the points that I had, all the problems that I see with commission artists, and obviously these aren't all the problems out there, and obviously not all artists have these problems, but you feel like, you kind of have these problems or are experiencing them, you can decide if you want to take my advice or not. I mean, I'm just here to talk. I'm not really a reliable source. But yeah, I think my main advice is to know your limits, understand what you can and can't do, and also just be empathetic towards other artists and clients, especially. I think there's like some instances where like artists have just no empathy for clients. They just expect the clients to be completely understanding of them and just not return the favor to the clients. And just, be kind, be respectful, be understanding. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching if you did reach it to this point, and if not, you wouldn't be listening to this. So that's all that I have to say. And bye.